Hi, my name's Kyle Wilson, former amateur MMA champion with 10+ years experience training across various different martial arts. In this video, I'm going to break down the rear shoulder feint and give you a bunch of combinations using the rear shoulder feint for you to add to your striking arsenal. So before we get into the technicalities of the rear shoulder feint, allow me to expand on feinting in general. So for the total beginners out there, you might be asking, what is a feint? So I've got my printout here from Google of the definition of a feint. A deceptive or pretend blow, thrust or other movement, especially in boxing or fencing. So some examples of a feint would be a fake strike like a jab, a fake takedown attempt, or a fake submission on the ground. Okay, so now you understand what a feint is, let's look at why you would use feints. There's two reasons in my opinion. The first one is to make reads on your opponent. A classic example of this would be feinting a jab, realising the opponents are reaching on the parry and turning it into a lead hook. So the way this works, I'm with my partner, I'm pumping my fake jab. I notice that every time I give a feint, they're reaching for the parry. People who are good at parrying will parry the punch away straight in front of their face and they won't reach. But you'll notice a lot of beginners reach from the parry, the hand comes away from the face and leaves the side of their head exposed. So if I'm with my partner and I'm feinting this jab, I notice he's reaching for the parry, so on my next feint, I then whip it into a left hook instead. So the opportunity for the left hook comes from making a read on what my opponent's doing when I feint. When I notice there's a vulnerability, I capitalise on that, in this case with the left hook. Okay, reason number 2 you'd use feints is to keep yourself unpredictable. This is going to sound corny, but for sports-based combat it's true. It's like a game of chess. You need to be so many moves ahead of your opponent, and you need to be thinking about their next moves. When you start headhunting and throwing these big haymakers, you start winding up on shots, they know what's coming next. It's easy to get blocked, counters and intercepted. You don't want that. You want them being steps behind you, wondering what's coming next. So if I'm dancing around my opponent, I'm throwing my feints, and I'm mixing up with my real shots and my level changes, they don't know what's coming next, and I've become this impossible puzzle to solve, which is going to overwhelm them and leave you to getting a W. Okay, so now you understand what a feint is and why you would use feints. Let's talk about what separates the good from the bad feints. Good feints look like real shots, and good real shots look like feints. So the key is to put conviction into your feints. You see beginners all the time, they try and aspire and incorporate their feinting, but they think that this is a feint. Moving your fist forward an inch is not a feint. You need to get your opponent to bite to the shots. So for example, if I stick with the jab, I want to be moving forward with my feet, my hip, my shoulder, and actually making it look like it's a real jab. If I make it look like a real jab, I'm going to get a real reaction, and that allows me to make my reads. So no matter what you're feinting, whether it's a submission attempt, fake takedown, kick, knee, etc., make sure you're throwing your feints with conviction as though they're real shots. Okay, so let's look specifically at the rear shoulder feint now. So I'm right-handed and fight out of the orthodox stance. So that's how I'm going to demonstrate this. The right shoulder feint, or the rear shoulder feint rather, is basically feinting a big cross, a right hook or an overhand. They're all the same thing and they all come from the shoulder. So, to make this feint convincing, I'm going to over-dedicate with my shoulder, almost round it and roll it in front of me and put my weight onto my rear leg, here. I like to do this after a jab, because you don't tend to see fighters lead with their rear hand unless it's a counter. For example, a pull back into a straight right. So, in this example, I might pop my jab, rear shoulder feint, push the weight onto the lead leg, round and over-dedicate with the shoulder, and come back with a left hook. This is particularly sneaky because you're throwing 2 shots off the left side, which you don't see from beginners. It's something that takes a lot of experience. You have to condition your body because traditionally, I guess, twisting the hips and the quarters, used to going left, right, left, right, left, right. So when you can double up on shots and go left, left or right, right, you're going to start catching a lot of people out. Give it a go. Here's my favourite combinations for leading with a jab, using the rear shoulder feint and following up with another lead side shot. bear in mind, you don't have to stick to the format of jab, rear shoulder feint, lead side strike. You can just be dancing around your opponent and throwing rear shoulder feints independently when you want to. This is how you keep them guessing and keep yourself unpredictable, as I mentioned earlier. So here's some more combinations using the rear side so you can snipe your opponent once you've got them on the back foot. The thing to keep in mind is that you need to diversify your attacks. You don't want to make yourself predictable. There's no good spamming the same combination on my opponent. For example, if I'm constantly using the jab, rear shoulder, feint, left hook, they know every time they see that rear shoulder that the left hook's come in. You want to avoid that. So you only need to get good at 2 or 3 of these combinations, but make sure every time after you throw that rear shoulder feint, there's a different attack on the end. This is going to keep your opponent guessing, and when you start sniping them with it because they don't know what's coming next, that's going to lead to their downfall.